The room wasn't loud at first. It was quiet in the way a courtroom goes quiet just before a verdict drops, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like everyone knows something is about to break. Cameras were rolling. Phones were already lifted. A senator had just finished laying down what he believed was the line that would finally reign in the most powerful tech minds on Earth. Artificial intelligence, he said, needed to be controlled before it controlled us. The words were stern. The posture was confident. And then, from thousands of miles away, a single response landed like a thunderclap. Elon Musk didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult anyone. He didn't storm a stage. He simply responded. And in that moment, everything changed. People watching felt it in their gut. Something had snapped. Something had been exposed. And what followed stunned the entire nation. But to understand why that response hit so hard, you have to understand the stage that was set. For months, fear had been building. Fear of machines replacing workers. Fear of algorithms shaping truth. Fear that decisions once made by human conscience were being handed over to cold lines of code. Into that fear stepped Senator John Kennedy, a man known for sharp sound bites and courtroom-style rhetoric, a politician who speaks like he's cross-examining the future itself. He stood before microphones and cameras and painted a picture of AI as a runaway train. Powerful. Fast. And dangerous if left unchecked. He proposed sweeping regulations. Strong controls. Government oversight that would decide what could be built, who could build it, and how far innovation was allowed to go. To many viewers, it sounded reasonable. Responsible. Even brave. The media framed it as a showdown between Washington and Silicon Valley. Between order and chaos. Between safety and risk. But beneath the surface, something darker was brewing. Critics whispered that this wasn't about safety at all. They said it was about power. About politicians trying to grasp something they barely understood, then claiming authority over it. They pointed out the irony of lawmakers who struggled to explain email now attempting to regulate intelligence itself. Still, the narrative rolled forward. Headlines declared that Congress was finally standing up to tech billionaires. Panels filled cable news screens. Commentators spoke in grave tones about existential threats. And somewhere in the middle of that noise sat Elon Musk, the most unlikely figure in this drama. A man admired by millions and distrusted by just as many. A man who builds rockets, cars, satellites, and now, the tools that may shape human thought itself. To some, he was the villain, a reckless genius playing God. To others, he was a builder, a risk-taker, someone pushing humanity forward when institutions moved too slowly. As Senator Kennedy's proposal gained attention, pressure mounted on Musk to respond. Silence, people said, would be an admission of guilt. Anger would prove arrogance. Anything he said would be dissected, twisted, and weaponized. Social platforms buzzed with predictions. Some expected Musk to lash out. Others thought he'd dismiss the senator as irrelevant. Few expected what actually came. When Musk finally spoke, it wasn't from a Senate hearing or a press conference. It came through a calm, deliberate message, delivered with restraint that felt almost unsettling. He didn't mock the senator. He didn't dodge the issue. He went straight to the heart of it. He said that regulating AI without understanding it was like handing the steering wheel to someone who had never learned to drive, then blaming the car when it crashed. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Screens lit up. Comment sections erupted. Some cheered. Others gasped. The media replayed the words again and again, searching for outrage that wasn't there. But that was the problem. There was no obvious outrage to grab onto. No insult. No scandal. Just a sharp, clean statement that cut through the noise. Musk continued, saying that fear-driven laws don't protect the public, they protect politicians from accountability when innovation leaves them behind. He argued that the real danger wasn't AI growing too fast, but leadership moving too slowly, clinging to control instead of learning, adapting, and guiding responsibly. And that's when the story escalated. Because Kennedy didn't take the response as a philosophical disagreement. He took it as a challenge. In interviews, the senator doubled down. He warned that unchecked tech leaders were acting like unelected rulers. He suggested that billionaires couldn't be trusted with tools that shape society. His words were sharper now, more personal. The conflict was no longer abstract. It had a face. On one side, a career politician speaking for government authority. On the other, an entrepreneur speaking for innovation and individual responsibility. The media framed it as a clash of egos. Social platforms turned it into memes and viral clips. Hashtags trended. Supporters on both sides dug in. Then came the moment no one saw coming. In a follow-up exchange that would later be replayed millions of times, Musk delivered what many would call the mic drop moment. He acknowledged the risks of AI openly. He didn't deny them. He didn't minimize them. Instead, he said something that shifted the entire debate. He said that if government truly cared about protecting people, it would invest in education, transparency, and public understanding, not just bans and controls. He said real safety comes from empowering citizens, not treating them like children who need decisions made for them behind closed doors. And then he asked a simple question that hung in the air like a challenge no one could easily answer. Who watches the regulators when they get it wrong? That question rippled outward. Commentators fell silent mid-sentence. Supporters of the bill paused. Even critics admitted it landed hard. Because history offered uncomfortable answers. From financial crises to surveillance scandals, from wars launched on false premises to technologies mishandled by bureaucracy, the record wasn't clean. Musk wasn't claiming perfection. He was pointing to humility. To the idea that no single group, whether billionaires or senators, should hold unchecked power. Public reaction shifted. Polls showed growing skepticism toward heavy-handed regulation. Not rejection of oversight, but doubt in the motives behind it. People began sharing stories of innovation delayed or crushed by red tape. Others shared fears of AI misuse, but agreed that ignorance was not a solution. The conversation matured. It deepened. And in that space, Musk's calm response began to look less like defiance and more like leadership. Senator Kennedy tried to reclaim the narrative. He emphasized moral duty. He spoke of protecting the vulnerable. But the tone felt different now. Reactive. Defensive. The hero-villain framing the media had tried to sell started to blur. Musk, once cast as the reckless villain, was speaking about restraint, responsibility, and long-term thinking. Kennedy, once framed as the guardian, was now seen by some as clinging to authority without offering vision. What made Musk's response truly shocking wasn't its sharpness. It was its restraint. In a political culture addicted to outrage, he refused to play the game. He didn't escalate insults. He escalated ideas. He treated the public as capable of understanding complexity, as worthy of truth rather than fear. And people noticed. They felt respected. In the weeks that followed, something rare happened. Lawmakers from both parties quietly reached out to technologists, not for sound bites, but for briefings. Universities hosted open forums. Engineers spoke alongside ethicists. The debate didn't end, but it changed. It became less about control and more about stewardship. Less about who holds power and more about how power is used. The resolution didn't come in the form of a dramatic vote or a final speech. It came in a shift of tone. A realization that the future can't be managed through fear alone. That dignity means trusting people with knowledge. That democracy means debate, not decrees. Musk didn't win a political battle. Kennedy didn't lose his platform. But the public gained something more valuable than a victor. They gained a clearer view of what leadership could look like when ego steps aside. In the end, this wasn't a story about a billionaire versus a senator. It was a story about how societies choose to face the unknown. With panic, or with purpose. With control, or with courage. The shocking response wasn't a sentence or a quote. It was a posture. Calm in the face of pressure. Clarity in the middle of noise. A reminder that progress doesn't have to be cruel, and safety doesn't have to mean silence. As the cameras moved on and the headlines faded, the question remained, lingering quietly where slogans once shouted. Will we shape our future with wisdom, or with fear? The answer doesn't belong to Musk or Kennedy alone. It belongs to everyone watching, listening, and deciding what kind of world is worth building, and who we trust to help build it.